Alright, hello chat. Welcome to the first official video on the Oliver YouTube channel. Um, First of all, I do not think I'm going to advertise this at all. Quick water sip. I don't think I'm going to advertise this like at all or tell anybody. I'm mostly just doing this for myself. So if you are seeing this video, crazy. I don't know how the hell you got here. Um, but cool. Hello. You're welcome to hang out. You're probably wondering what this is. The answer to that is I kind of want it to be like a vlog thing. I want to make a game. You can see it here in the corner. I want to make a thing because I was in a really bad slump last week. And yesterday I was like laying in bed, like rotting, and I was like, I need to do something. And I need to do something that's not A, job hunting, or B, just playing video games. Like I need to do something like creative. And I want to eventually, I've been talking about this with people for a while now. I want to take one of my like college projects, like my sophomore or junior year project, and go through an update and re-overhaul that. But the person I want to lead that project is not getting back to me. So until then, I'm going to try to do something on my own. I don't know how often I'm gonna do this. Like I have no consistent plan. I'd like to do these videos kind of consistently. Um, and I'm doing these videos as a way to kind of like incentivize me to do it. Because I like talking. I talk to myself anyway. I think out loud a lot. And I feel like it'd be fun just to like record the process of me trying to do this. And we'll see how this goes. And maybe I will only record this one video and never do this again. But we're here. We're trying this out. So this is kind of like an audio log, I guess. Visual audio log for Oliver Makes a Game. I don't know what I'm gonna actually name this when I upload it. Where's my mouse? There it is. So, first thing we gotta do for making a game, we gotta figure out what the hell we're making. So, I was talking to my lovely, lovely partner the other week, and they asked me, because I'm a really big card game guy. I played Magic a lot when I was younger. I played Yu-Gi-Oh! When I was younger. I've been playing Hearthstone and Gwent and Legend of Runeterra for years and years and years. And so they asked me, if I were to make a card game, what would it be? And I did not have an answer because I hadn't really thought about it very much, um, which is weird. So I've been thinking about it really, and so card game is something I'd be interested in making. This is like, there we go. So I'm not doing this in fucking Arial. Give me the room. Give me, sorry, this is me being neurotic about my Google Docs, which you can blame my creative writing minor for. But yeah. So you do card game, but then the question then becomes, right, like what kind of card game are we making, right? Are we doing like a competitive deck builder, right? A la, Hearthstone, right? Are we doing like a deck building roguelike, like Slay the Spire? Slay. I can't type for shit. This is gonna be unbearable to watch. I apologize. I don't know if I'm apologizing. I said I'm not advertising this. I don't apologize. If you're here, you chose to be here. Yeah, so like, do we want to do something like this? Is there like a third option? Yes. I don't know what that third option looks like. But I genuinely almost typed that. Third option, right? There's a lot of different things we do with the card game. Now a lot of these have issues, right? Like this, for example, big issue. Issues. Multiplayer. Very hard to test a multiplayer game by yourself. Um, and also multiplayer games are just generally harder to make, etc., etc. Issues with this. There's a lot of these. There are so many deck building roguelikes right now. Some of them are even like recent. Like Monster Train 2 just came out a couple months ago. Slay the Spire 2 is coming out in March. You know, oversaturated market, which it doesn't matter that much because I don't really want to make money off of this, but it does mean harder to make unique, I guess. I can't. How the fuck do you spell saturated? There you go. Yeah. And general issue with this is I'm a level designer primarily, right? I like designing levels. I like making play spaces. Card games, kind of hard to do that. Like this, you're not really making a play space. This you could actually. There is some presence for this, and there is pull up Steam. Monster Train 2, I just referenced that. Yeah, people are trying to give me. I like two people that keep telling me about Claire Obscure, and I should play it, so maybe I will. Well, that's not what I'm here for. Here for Sherman Gloom. Yes, this is a game I played the demo of.
Descend into the underrealm where danger.
Do not play audio. But this is a really cool kind of dungeon crawler deck builder roguelike that was really neat. And what I really like about this game is you can see, so there's two different decks you use, right? You have your like combat deck where you have different attacks and you heal and do different things and you fight monsters. But you also have your kind of exploration deck, which you can build a practice dummy to upgrade your attacks. You can make soup. You can open. You have bash. You can draft different keys to open locks like this. So you have two different decks you can draft, and this is more. It's still like a roguelike. It's still very like linear. Like you just go from room to room. You go forward. But something that's gonna be kind of cool because this shows you can do as opposed to something like Slay the Spire, right? Slay the Spire. Don't play with you. Where, it's just static, like you're in combat. There's nothing else. This kind of shows you can kind of
Descend.
walk around. Stop. I need to figure out how to turn this off. Right? You can walk around, basically, is what I'm getting at. You can make a deck building where you can walk around, and I think that's really cool. So, maybe there's something that's OBS. Here we go. Can I do something with that, right? So, let's add dungeon crawler. Question mark. No, no question mark. Lets me make a play space, which I want to do. I also don't know how long this video is going to be. I'm kind of just going to go until I feel like stopping. So this might be like 30 minutes. This might be an hour and a half. I don't know. I'm going to edit it after I'm done and try and maybe cut out some of the fat. And also maybe block any potentially bad things that show up. Mostly people's last names that might accidentally appear. But yeah, so dungeon crawler. There's horror stuff. I don't know what that. I'm just gonna write horror general. I made a lot of horror games. Somehow, like nearly every one of my big college projects was a horror game. I don't know how that happened. I blame Hayden primarily. Um, but yeah, so I do like horror. I think it's very fun. I think I would enjoy making another horror game, but would also kind of like to branch out. I like right now I'm leaning towards some kind of dungeon crawler. Like I like the idea of making a dungeon crawler. Maybe it has card game elements. I don't know, but I do kind of want to make a dungeon crawler. So I think right now this is the thing I'm leaning towards. So what does this look like? What do we want to do with this dungeon crawler? I don't know. That's why I'm here. That's why we're here. But I'm gonna take another sip of water. I should have refilled. I have like a quarter cup left. I should have refilled this before I started. We want to make a dungeon crawl. So, what is in this dungeon crawl, right? Dungeon crawl is usually there's like combat of some sort. Exploration. I do want there to be exploration. I think that would be nice. And then yeah, that is that's so. I want there to be exploration. I want there to be some form of combat. Is that card based? Do you have abilities? How does it work? I don't know. I think another interesting potential inspiration point could be. I always forget the name of this game. Cryptmaster. This game, I've talked about this game a couple times to people. I really like this game. I think this game is really cool. So it's a typing based. You can see it's a typing based dungeon crawler, right? Where you have these four heroes down at the bottom. You control, and they're all from my understanding, they're undead. They've been brought back to life by this guy, Cryptmaster. They're all adventurers, but they all kind of have amnesia, right? So you don't have any abilities to start with. You learn abilities by typing, by just trying out words and seeing what they do, right? And so, and you unlock letters by, oh, here's a perfect example, right? So this guy right now is BLA. So you have these letters, you found these through opening chests and like exploring and leveling up. At any point, you can try and figure out what the rest of this word is, right? So I'm just gonna assume it's blast. We're gonna make a guess here. So at any point I can type in blast, and if it's the correct word, then you'll do that action. Blast is probably some kind of attack, right? Or like I think this guy starts off with like hit or something, like smack is like the warrior. But you start with like an H, so it's like, okay, it's you type in hit something. Or you walk up to the chest, you type open, you open the chest. But it's very cool, very interesting idea for a system. And so the way combat works is it's quotation marks real time, where the enemy, this little hourglass represents, I believe, if I'm remembering this correctly, it's been a while since I've played this. But when this hourglass runs out, the enemy attacks you. So you have until this hourglass runs out to do as many things as you can. You have cooldowns as well, obviously. Um, yeah, and then once the enemy attacks, the hourglass will flip over, charge up another attack. You can do your things in the meantime. So it's kind of real time. I don't like full real time. This is me, like a thing I like. Uh, Real time versus turn based, right? I don't like real time combat. I like slower. Well, I don't like. Mm, I need to clarify this statement. I like real time combat, but like only if it's range based. Like I like some shooter, like Doom. I think is a very good example. Like Doom, obviously, I don't want to be turn based. That would be insane. Or so I've been replaying the God of War games recently. This is a good example. That's obviously not turn based. That is very fast paced real time combat. But the point is, it's fast. I don't love. Where am I going with this? I don't know. I don't want to make a real time combat game. I don't think I would enjoy that very much. I like playing some real time combat games. This is a nothing. This was a whole. I don't. Anyway, fuck you. Die. How do I do the straight through? No. Tools. Format. Ah. Alt Shift. Why did it get so complicated? Anyway, I don't want to make. I want to do something turn based. I think. But again, what does that look like, right? And how do you? Because the issue with turn based, right? Issues with turn based. This is also just going to be like an insane doc. Like this is going to be the ravings of a madman. I'm not going to format this like at all. Issues with turn based. Uh, it slows down things. Slows pacing, obviously. Can be clunky. I mean, obviously you can say that about any system. Like you can say the same about real time, but it's clunky in different ways, right? Where again, it mostly slows pacing down. Where especially if it's like, so in my opinion, if you're doing turn-based combat, every combat then has to be important, so to speak. It's harder to do throwaway fights if you're doing turn-based combat because then it slows down the pacing and it becomes kind of tedious if you're putting a bunch of like random shit fights in the way. I think a very good example of this is the Owlcat games. Specifically, I'm gonna pull up Rogue Trader. Shout out to Steam. This is a game I really like, by the way. Wow. What the fuck is it? What is the store page? I've never actually like looked that hard at the store page for this game. But so this is a turn-based RPG. However, and this is kind of an issue I have with Owlcat, the way Owlcat designs games. I still really like Rogue Trader. I want to clarify. This is a very good game. I would recommend it, especially if you like 40K stuff. But the big issue with this is they throw a lot of kind of nothing fights at you, like kind of just filler fights. Especially so this is like war. You travel through different like solar systems and shit in this game, and every time you travel, you see these different colored lines. Depending on the color of the line, there is a chance that like something bad happens when you travel between spaces, and potentially leads to like a fight against like alien invaders or like demons and shit. Um, but eventually you get to a point in the game where the first couple times it happens, it's like kind of neat. It's like, whoa, crazy, a fight. This could be bad. However, once you get later in the game, your characters become so powerful and the enemies like don't scale like at all in those like invasion fights. So it just becomes you load in, you have to do this fight. Um, and it takes all of 5 minutes, possibly even less, because you can just mulch. Like the first time I played through, my character had like a machine gun, and I could like turn one, unload my entire clip. Um, but I still had to like set up my guys. Like it still took a couple minutes because I had to go to the fight, set up my guys, start the turn, queue up all my abilities. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it became very tedious to do, right? Because it wasn't a challenge. I knew I was in no threat whatsoever, but I still had to go through and do it. And there was a lot of things like that towards I think the balancing in that game is not terrific. But it's an issue with a lot of Alcad games where they really just like throwing meaningless filler fights at you, which I think is bad design. And it's one of the critiques I have of them. Where I think conversely, where turn-based does really well is I'm going to pick the very obvious example, Baldur's Gate 3, right? I think every fight in Baldur's Gate, even the like smaller ones, serve some kind of purpose or they're trying to do something interesting. Like it's never just we're gonna throw a bunch of goblins at you, right? It's always like the first big goblin fight outside the Druid Grove, right? Even though it is just a bunch of goblins, there's still multiple things happening, right? There are the three mercenaries out front that are like defending themselves that you want to try and save. There's Zevlor on the horn. There's a bunch of different enemy types, right? Like you've got rain, you've got a spellcaster that always fucking greases your guys turn one, makes them slip. There's like the big like bug trio of like the bugbear, the warg, and the goblin leader who does a bunch of damage. Up front, there's some rangers. Like there's a lot of visual, interesting stuff happening um, that makes you really think about what's going on. And then later on, there's another potential goblin fight in the abandoned village. Again, that is just a bunch of like goblins, but that fight presents something interesting because there's different elevations, right? There's goblins on the roof. You're surrounded if you go in through the front gate. And goblins on the roof, goblins down below, multiple angles coming at you, doing different things. It is distinct, it is interesting, and that's what a lot of the fights in Baldur's Gate 3 are like. There are very few, if any, fights in Baldur's Gate that I feel like slow down the pacing of the game because they're all trying to do something different, even if they are small. And so I think that's really important if you're doing turn-based, is you need to have the fights serve a purpose, or they need to be like interesting or stand out in some way, even if it is a very small way. You get what I'm saying here? So need to be interesting slash serve. So the question then becomes, how do you do that? And the question we have to answer before that is, what the fuck does combat even look like? Because in order to answer this question, you need to understand how you're fighting these things. Answer, I don't know. My phone's vibrating. Why are you vibrating? Why am I still getting fucking Bradley Athletics newsletter emails? I need to unsubscribe from that. I don't even know why I'm subscribed in the first place. I didn't go to a single game. Anyway, yeah. So, there is also, you do not have combat. This is a real thing. It could just be a dungeon crawl. So I will say, I've been thinking about Eldritch Horror. Very big, no. Why is it so hard for me to talk when I'm doing these kinds of things? I don't know. But I've been thinking about this recently because I've been thinking about, as always, I've been thinking of one of my true loves, Dredge. Love this game. Also a game I think everyone should play. Like top 5 games for me, I think. Love Dredge to bits. Go play Dredge if you haven't already. But I've been thinking about that. I've been thinking about some Eldritch Horror stuff. I've also been watching some videos about games like Amnesia and shit like that. And it's gonna be thinking again, because my senior project was supposed to be very Eldritch Horror themed, and it kind of didn't end up happening that way. Some people might disagree with me on that. I don't think it ended up being very Eldritch Horror-y. I mean, hell, we fucking show the monster in our Steam page, which, by the way, hold on, I'm gonna do a little show.
The rogue trader has fallen. Now I must.
Steps coming out soon. I think I was told the release date. I do not remember, and even if I did remember it, I was told not to say it. But this is my senior project. You should go wishlist this. I should actually add that to my wishlist. Go wishlist again. Anyway, as I was saying, we show the monster fucking in the Steam page, which I don't think we should have done. I thought we talked about not doing this. Anyway, that's a side tangent that I'm not going to get into right now. Yeah, so I think we kind of lost the Eldritch Horror aspects of our game, which is fine. We went in a different direction. We picked that direction, and that's fine. The game got made. I'm decently happy with it. I did this. I did this little Edwin mimic jump scare shadow, which I'm very proud of. But yeah, so I wouldn't be opposed to taking another crack at like kind of an Eldritch horror type beat. However, that does kind of I think move me away from combat because I think an important part of Eldritch horror is it's hard to fight back against. The whole point of Eldritch horror, in my opinion, is that you're not really fighting back against these things. You're kind of suffering along, moving through, etc., from combat. But I do think that potentially enhances exploration because then you can do interesting things with like visuals, like play up the madness stuff, etc. So that could be very fun. My main thing, importantly, is that I don't want to make a walking sim. I don't have anything against walking sims overly, um, but I personally do not find them overly interesting, and I like having mechanics in my game. That's mean. I don't want to. I'm trying not to be better about critiquing walking sims because I for a long time I was actively very against walking sims. I'm trying to be better about that. I'm trying to have a more open mind. Um, but yes, but I personally I like having multiple things to do in games, and as in I can't just like walk around and look at environments. I need things to do in those environments. I'm a very functionality person. I need my environments to serve a purpose. That's why I wear cargo shirts all the time because they have pockets. They're functional. Ha ha ha. Anyway, cargo cargo shorts. Cargo shorts. Add that to the list. This will be funny for me later because I'm gonna forget why I wrote cargo shorts. Um, yeah. So I kind of like the idea of doing like an Eldritch horror like exploration game because then I can include my favorite mechanic potentially, maps. I love maps. Do you guys know this? Do you guys know I love maps? Some of my favorite things to do is make maps. You guys wanna see maps that I've made? Let's open up some maps. I got so many maps. A lot of D&D stuff. Made this for my buddy wants to run a Mutants and Masterminds campaign, and so I made this map for him. This is for an Unreal project I made. This is for a D&D campaign I'm running. I was running, will potentially run in the future. I love maps, guys. So many maps. Oh, here's let me do a little look through for all you Camp Splinterwood fans out here. Here's some of my old drafts for the Camp Splinterwood map. You can see Goils. uh, what the fuck is this? I don't know. Some of these I do not remember. Oh yes, okay, cool. That actually does. Yeah, this is the original map. A lot of this got cut, as you probably know. We were gonna have challenge course. Oh yeah, I forgot the office started. Yeah, back through memory lane. So yeah, this is pretty close to what the final layout ended up looking like. Let's see, added another campfire over there. This is more centralized. There's a shed there. Fascinating. Anyway, so yeah, I like making maps. And not just like 2D maps like that. I like I do like I like maps in games. Both like so like the 3D space of what you're walking around in, or 2D space. But also I like making maps that the player can use to explore. I think it's very fun. Um, so I think potentially, and I try to fucking put a map in every game I make. I always try to do it. I've gotten away with it pretty consistently. I was not able to have one in Shrouded Depths, which I was pretty sad about. But I think we can put a map in this game, and I think we can do fun things with the maps. Especially if you go in the Eldritch Horror direction of horror can mess with the map. Like rearrange it when the player's not looking. Both again the 3D play space, both 3D play space and 2D map. Also, I think just generally, okay, let's set up some ground rules for what I want to do. I do want this. So okay, so I think I'm not doing it. We'll come back to this. I do want this to be 3D, and I want it to be first person. Because this way I don't have to make a character model. Um, or, commission somebody to make a character model for me. I guess find a character. It's probably going to be in... Okay, so let's answer the Unity. Unity versus Unreal. Let's answer this question. Unreal is generally better for 3D games. Just full stop. It works a lot better. It's designed for like 3D games, like that's kind of the whole point. However, really, really performance intensive. Also takes up a lot of storage space, so I'd have to uninstall some things on my laptop, which I don't really want to do. So I do like coding in Unreal better, but there's a lot more guides for Unity. There's a lot of guides for Unity to help me out. I think I'm leaning towards Unity for right now. I think we're gonna start in Unity, and then if it doesn't end up working, maybe we'll go to Unreal. We'll see. But I think we're gonna start in Unity for right now. So we'll add Unity to this. This will be kind of our master statement. Master statement. 3D. So we got a 3D game. This is gonna bother me if I don't do this. Alright. First person. Unity. Do we want to lock in Eldritch Horde Dungeon Crawl? Am I making another horror game? Am I really locking in another horror game on my portfolio? I need to diversify my portfolio, man. My portfolio is 3 horror games, and then Slip a Lot too. Oh my god. Oh my god. What am I doing here? This was kind of really fun though. Think about the cargo shorts, guys. I think I'm not gonna lock it in, but I would like to explore this idea more. And I would like to explore this idea more. Because, again, I do really like card games. And maybe there are card elements in this game that I'm thinking of down here. But the issue with the card game, right, is that I don't get to make a level. And really, at the end of the day, that's the main thing I want to do, is make levels. Because I am a simple man, and that shit makes me happy. So let's talk about this more. So Eldritch Horror, right? An exploration-based Eldritch Horror game. What are we doing? What's the goal? How do we not fall into the classic tropes? Because I want to avoid some of the more like generic parts of the Eldritch Horror, right? Like I don't want to, if possible, I think I want to avoid like a madness sanity meter. I think that's kind of lame. Or at least I don't want like a bar on screen. Maybe we have aspects of that, but not like a bar that fills up. I think Dredge gets away with it. Because it's a simple mechanic and it works. But I don't know if I want to go fully that direction. If we're doing this, I feel like there's less combat. That being said, I don't want it to be because I don't enjoy like run and hide horror games. Like I don't like what is oh fuck, what is that game called? Oh, the one when you're in the asylum, the old one, with the flashlight and the video camera. Oh, fuck, what is that game called? They came out with a multiplayer game version of it recently. Not Dying Light, not Dead Space. What the fuck am I thinking of? Outlast. That's what I'm thinking of. Outlast. I don't like Outlast style games where you're kind of just like there's like big scary threats and you can't really do it. You just have to run and hide. I think it's very boring. For me personally, I understand people really like those games. I'm saying me personally, I find that gameplay loop of like big monster comes out, run away from it, hide in a locker, wait 10 seconds for it to pass, get out, rinse and repeat like 30 times while you're trying to solve a puzzle. Um, I think big monsters like that can work. Like, I want to be clear, I think Resident Evil, I'm going to say specifically 2, like the Resident Evil 2 remake, I think does a really good job with Mr. X, where it is a big scary monster that you cannot kill and you have to run away from, but you can slow it down, right? Like, you can pop it in the head a couple times. and you keep moving, and you're not hiding from it so much as you're like pushing it off. I think another self promo. Camp Splinterwood also, right? Like the monster, you cannot kill the monster. You just kind of push it away with your flashlight. I think that like that's something I like I think works, right? Where I'm not because I can keep progressing even if the monster is attacking me, right? Like my issue with like Outlast and The Evil Within is like I kind of have to like stop what I'm doing to go run and hide. Like I cannot continue playing the game. I have to pause. There's also a big issue with um ah that's creepy. This one. This bendy game. Big issue I had with this game is throughout the game, like you're doing puzzles, and the ink demon will come out, and you have to like you start spawns and music swells up, and things get creepy, like odd visuals get creepy, and you have to go run and hide in a locker for a couple seconds, and like that's it. That's the whole gameplay. Is you cannot continue doing the puzzle. You have to go run and hide in a locker, or he just instantly kills you. And I think that's really boring and lame, and it really slows down the pacing of the game. I like Mr. X from Resident Evil because you can still continue to do the puzzles and stuff. You just have to like stay out of his way. I think that works really well. Um, and it also helps to like keep the player moving and exploring, which I think is really important. So I think so. I don't want to do run and hide. No run and hide, but only no run. I'm trying to figure out how I want to word this. I feel like I said like a good way to word it, but no run and hide. So has enemies, not full combat, can push creatures off. I guess then the question becomes, right, is hmm, the more I'm thinking about this in my head, the more I'm making a Resident Evil game. Because I'm like, well, okay, because I don't want, because you know, if there's a bunch of different types of monsters, right, it seems lame if you're just like scaring all of them off. So do I want just one big monster? I don't know. I kind of want smaller monsters, but then I feel like you should be able to fight the smaller monsters. Then do I be giving you a gun or some kind of weapon? And I'm like, fuck, I'm just making Resident Evil. God damn it. It always comes back to Resident Evil. Damn you, Hayden. Ah, more like Gaiden. I hope he sees the. I'm gonna like. He's gonna somehow find this video. He's gonna see that, and I'm gonna get a text message, and he's gonna go, "What the hell, dude? Gaiden? Really? That was the best joke you could come up with?" I'm gonna be like, "Hey, man, lay off. I haven't had to be funny in a while. They killed me my ass and dropped out of funny school." Um. Hmm. I do think this is kind of. I think I'm fucking falling for it. I'm making another damn horror game with exploration based features. It would type. This is why I can never. This is why I need other people to come up with projects for me. Otherwise, I'm just gonna keep doing the same thing over and over. I have no original bones left in me. So, all right, let's take a break from this and maybe let's talk about setting, right? What do we want to do with the setting? So initial ideas I've had are like frozen, like kind of like iceberg, like Antarctica type beat. Ant or Hey, I did it. Type beat. Anyway, right? I've been thinking about this. Obviously, I like to dredge. Here, Pale Reach. I really like the Pale Reach as a place. I think aesthetically, claw. Like just aesthetically, I think this area is really cool. Like dry. I wish there was like a better.
Rated E10 for ages 10 and up.
I don't know. But yeah, like dry, like going through this like snowy, kind of icy, frigid wasteland where it's like no noise except like you and kind of the ambient music. Very somber, very cold, for lack of a better word. I think it was a really cool. It's a really cool aesthetic. I like it a lot. Um, I think it could work really well. I think it's kind of an unexplored space too. I think it'd also be very fun. It'd be a fun challenge to make it visually interesting, right? Um, G and interesting because obviously it's just it's just snow and ice, right? It's one in general one color palette. Obviously, snow has different layers of colors and stuff, which is something we talk about. But it's just snow and ice. How do you make all of that look cool? How do you make that a fun space to explore? I think that could be really good. I'm also partially pitching this because one of my initial pitches for Shrouded Depths. I pitched both the swamp and also I made a pitch. I came up with a pitch for an Arctic setting. We ended up going with the swamp. Um, but so this is me kind of taking that back. But yeah, so that could be kind of fun. There's I did I'm tempted to write down swamp. I'm not doing it. No, I'm not doing a swamp game. I just made Shrouded Depths. I'm not doing a fucking. I'm already making another fucking horror game. I'm not doing swamp. Grr. Grr. Where else would we put it? It'd be city based, obviously. Well, okay, let's get the classic out of it. Coastal, right? Classic H.P. Lovecraft. Shadows over Innsmouth, Call of Cthulhu, like very oceanic, coastal based. Dredge, obviously. Um, could be very interesting. It is a little played out, but I do still think I says there's ways you can work that to be kind of interesting. Um, I think I want to write jungle down. I think a jungle, king of the jungle. Anyway, jungle, I think could be very fun. I think I could have a lot of fun with that, with like trees, end of sentence. No, but you do have a lot of fun with the soundscape, with the visual design of like trees and stuff, and like I like trees and I like making trees weird. I think could be very fun. And I've had some ideas for like fucked up jungle environments that I'd like to input. That could be really cool. Um, oh, hold on, hold on, hold on. Okay, so hear me out here. I've had this idea for a while. I've wanted to run this in a D&D campaign for a while. So maybe potential future spoilers if you ever play in a campaign of mine. But I've had this idea for a vampire jungle, right? So hear me out here. Hear me out. Hear me out. So this is gonna bother me. Hold on. I want this one time. Okay. So right, I've had this idea where, what if? Because vampires live a very long time, right? Immortality in general, very strange, weird thing to explore. I've had an idea with some weird thing, a vampire or like a guy doesn't have to start off as a vampire. He becomes a vampire. He turns into a tree, right? Guy becomes tree. A tree. Guy becomes tree. Um, and his consciousness, goes through the roots and spreads, and he creates this whole like kind of gardeny jungle area around him. That's all um, him basically. Like it's all just an extension of his like body, and he needs to like feed on nutrients, and so he evolves these vampire plants. I want to make like a vampire, like this big. So a pitch I had early on was Shrouded Depths. I'm gonna keep coming back to Shrouded Depths because it's the most recent thing I worked on, and also just it was a big project, and I had a lot of ideas that did not going through that I can maybe put in here. But a big pitch I had early on for when we were still kind of focusing on the Eldritch horror angle, which we kind of ended up dropping, but we were still focusing on this. I made a big pitch because we were talking about the monster. We had a lot of different arguments with the monster, what it should look like and stuff. And I had a pitch where how many times did I just hit up a pitch in the last 20 seconds? Anyway, um, a big idea I had was what if the monster is like the swamp, like somehow like it's the entire swamp around, like it's the trees, it's the water, etc., etc. And like my idea was like somehow you had sailed into this massive like cosmic being, and the thing that was attacking you was basically just kind of like a white blood cell, like you were some kind of like it was registering you as like not as a thing, just as like an invasive kind of disease that's not supposed to be there. And so it is barely processing you. It is just in automatic defense function, right? Because the whole point of Eldritch Horror is that these massive, monstrous entities that you are like an ant to, right? And they're not fully processing you as like a full intelligent being. And so that was the idea I had early on that we didn't end up going with. I'm still kind of butthurt about, by the way. No, I'm not. This is actually this first episode is just me complaining about Shattered Depths a bunch and also trying to come up with a game idea. Anyway, but so this is an idea I've had separate from that for a long while. Maybe I gamify it. Maybe I turn it into a game. It's cool. So you have like this big monstrous like blood infused jungle area. Ooh, okay. Hold on. Yeah, maybe I'm doing this. Maybe I'm doing this. Oh, fuck off. Maybe I'm doing. Okay. Ah! Chat, we're cooking. Chat, we're cooking. We're cooking. We're cooking. Okay. So, okay. For some, okay. So yeah, I like jungle. So we do vampire jungle. I finally am making my vampire jungle a reality. So I think it'd be very like I want it like fleshy, but not. I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna word this in my head because I don't want it to just be like I don't want like a fucking get rated X. Like I don't want it to be like just blood and guts everywhere. But I want it to be like I want you to feel like you are walking through like like a living entity, right? So like making like I think like kind of like a more red slash maroon color scheme. Hmm. With gray. I want. Hmm. Kind of want I want roses as a motif. I like roses a lot. If you didn't know, it's my favorite flower, or roses. But like red, like dark reds, bright like greens, etc. You see some like burnt, like brownish orange, maybe oranges. But yeah, like fleshy, but not super gross. Maybe I don't know. We'll revisit this sentence. Okay, yeah. I like this. I like this. Ooh, okay. I can work with this. Okay, cool. Yeah, I like this. I think this is the direction I want to go. We'll revisit this another time. So now the question is, what's the rest like scenario to think about time period, right? When are we setting this? And also, why are we here? I do not want to do missing family member. Categorically, I refuse. It's a fine trope. I'm more fine with like played out tropes than a lot of people, I think. I think tropes became tropes for a reason because they're like good. But that being said, so many of these games are because like you're missing a family member or something or some kind of familial dispute. I don't want to write about that. Um, I think I also that being said, I do think I'll say that for next time. I think I want to try and figure out like time period and then maybe we'll call it for this first episode. So time period, right? Traditionally, Tim period. Time period. Time period. Right. Right. A lot of these like Call of Cthulhu obviously is very like early like 1900s, right? Basic technology, typewriters and shit. I don't know why typewriters the thing I named. But, kind of that like earlier industrial period, which I think is a good setting. It's a nice setting. You do some fun with it. I do in my head, I'm leaning towards the idea, like I'm kind of thinking of like let's Google something. The Mummy, like the 1999 film. This is in my head. This is kind of the not this Mummy, this Mummy, Brendan Fraser Mummy. Shut up, my coat, Brendan Fraser. When is this film set? Not that. 1926. Okay, so yeah, 1920s. So like 1920s kind of adventure film gone wrong in my head is kind of what I'm imagining, right? Like maybe you're some kind of explorer. Maybe you're like one of the helpers to explore. Like obviously in The Mummy, you've got Brendan Fraser as the main guy, but you've also got dorky like this. I think these guys are siblings, but you've got dorky nerd sibling. So maybe you're playing like the dorky guy. Maybe the adventurer died, and you're playing like the dorky like nerd trying to get the fuck out of this fucked up evil jungle. We'll come back to that later. But I like 1920s as a setting. I think it's a nice kind of general setting where you have technology, right? You have like some basic stuff, but you don't have to worry about like an iPhone or like stuff like that. Is that a boomer take of me? I don't know. There wasn't really a take there. But yeah, I think potentially time period 1920s. Okay, so let's go back to this. Eldritch or Vampire Jungle, 1920s. We're adding to the master statement. We're getting there, guys. So I think, you know what? I think this is a pretty good start. I think this is a solid starting point for like aesthetic and, well, not aesthetic, but like setting and like what we kind of want to do. Well, not really. We know we want to do something else hard. We don't really know what the fuck kind of game we're making still, other than it's potentially a horror game of some sort. But that's still progress. That's more progress than I've made since school ended. So yeah, I think I'm probably gonna end the video here for now. If you are watching this again, how the fuck did you find this? That's crazy to me. But thank you for watching. Um, if you would like, you're welcome to leave comments in the video. I'll read them. I'll get a little notification on my phone probably, and I'll be like, whoa, a comment. Let me go read this. Feel free, if you have any ideas you'd like to pitch, feel free. I'll look through them, and maybe that'll trigger some kind of idea on my part. We can bounce off. Otherwise, if you got a question you want to ask me, ask a question. Maybe we'll do a little Q&A session next time. Or just tell a funny joke or something. I don't know. Whatever you want. I mean, it's a free country. But yeah, cool. I don't really have an ending for this. Stay fresh, gamers, and rock on. Yeah, that's good. Anyway.